You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Without truth, freedom doesn't exist. My soul has always been based on the principles of freedom, which is getting to the core or truth of an issue. Choosing the name Radical Press embodies me. When you look at the etymology of the word radical, it's about getting to the root of shit, derived from the Latin word radix, which literally means root. Press is the medium in which we use. Press can be in print, video, voice, or any type of media that gets information to the people. Radical Press magazine is about bringing truthful information and real knowledge to the people through a different lens.
I'm dancing. I'm enjoying my new show opener. And I know she doesn't like me to mention her name, but I'm going to give her credit where credit is due. That opener was done by the Brandy Johnson, the Disconnector. She's absolutely amazing. I'm loving it. I was dancing in the background. I'm having a good time, feeling the music, you guys. But welcome back. That's right. Welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. And don't mind my background. Had a few issues going on with the Wi-Fi, so don't have the green screen. You see my stairs. It's okay because this is The Whole Living, everybody. So we're home and we got some special guests here tonight. But before I introduce my guests, we're going to play this video. You know, I usually talk about some serious things, but I want to give you something funny today to start off with first. So we're going to play this.
And now we're back, and there's no pilots to be found, and there's no answer.
Even though they told us 3 hours ago that the pilot...
Do not ride Spirit. They suck.
Girl, you was on Spirit. The pilot, that was sold separately. Your $29 didn't cover the pilot. You had to go back to your cart. When they ask you those questions before you check out, when they're trying to have you upgrade, you didn't upgrade. Y'all didn't upgrade to get the pilot. So y'all better figure out. If you go to YouTube, they got some tutorials on how to start one of those things up. Y'all can make it. Y'all probably can make it. Y'all probably done missed a couple flights, but y'all can make it tomorrow if y'all do the tutorials.
And now we're back, and there's no pilots to be found.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just thought that was hilarious. Spirit, okay, yep, that's a little bit of a dig on you guys. But listen, this is what happens. And people are getting fed up. And I don't even understand how the young lady who did her, skit after the fact, how she kept a straight face. Because I thought that was hilarious just for her to say, you got to read everything and pay extra and look up a tutorial on how to book your flight through Spirit. So I just thought that was funny. But we're going to get into this show, everybody. So listen, I'm wearing my pink, and I've been wearing pink all month. You guys know, for most of you who have been watching, and if you don't know, I am a breast cancer survivor. I am supporting Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I am in a contest for the Fab Over 40, because this girl is 52, but Fab Over 40 for New Beauty magazine. And I'm doing this because I want to be a care partner for women that are suffering with breast cancer right here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I've been meeting some people, and I actually met a woman who is actually going through the fight right now. And I just thought, it would be great to help somebody while they are going through the fight, to be able to help them with bills, to take them to appointments. So when I saw what New Beauty was doing, I'm like, I got to get on the bandwagon for this contest, because it's going to allow me to have a lot more exposure. They support breast cancer. Everything that's being raised right now is going to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. It's for research, it's for awareness, and it's to help people that are in need as they are going through the fight. So I want to say to everybody, we want to commemorate those who have passed on. We're going to honor those who are going through the fight, and we're going to celebrate those who are surviving and thriving. So please get behind the efforts here. I promise you, I always like to do things where I know people are getting things in the hands of the people that really need it. And I know that this is what's happening with this magazine, and it'll definitely happen with me. And I understand firsthand what it is to go through the struggle. So I just want to mention that as well. So you guys, listen, I have two beautiful people backstage. And when I had a conversation with this couple, I felt like I knew them all my life, and I really could have talked to them the whole night, because that's how great the conversation was. And we were talking about so many different things, but they're just good people. And you know what I like to do? I love good people who have a real story, who have a real message, and who are really intentional about doing things to serve others through their own life story. And that's exactly what this couple is doing. So I'm going to give you their introduction, but I don't even know if this does it justice, because they're just two beautiful souls. This Chad and Lanell Osinga, everybody. They are the founders of My Bulletproof Marriages Coaching. And we're going to get to why they call it that. They have been in each other's lives for 26 years and married for 19. We're going to give them a clap on that, because you don't normally hear that these days. So we want to celebrate them for that. They have 4 amazing children that range from 21 years old to 11 years old. Chad and Lanell noticed that a high number of relationships were suffering and marriages were resulting in divorce. Having come from a relationship that started off fairly hellish, and what a word, right, to use, and we're going to talk to them about that they were able to turn into heaven-like. They decided to step in and do what they could do to help relationships in need. So I'm not going to go through the whole bio, because we're going to talk to them, and we're going to get into this story and how they started all this, and to go from hellish to heaven-like. I love that description. So let's find out how they did it. Let's bring them in.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, hello. So I absolutely love your bio. And I love that you use that description. So I'm just going to jump right into it, because I want to know why you said hellish to heaven-like.
Because it was horrible. I mean, you felt like you was in hell. We was on fire every single day. It was not good for the first 10 years. It was really, really bad. Divorce was on the table every week.
Sometimes 2 or 3 times
a
week,
And we were raising 2 small kids. We were kids. We were 21 years old when we got married. And I met Chad when I was 14. And so, just 2 kids raising children, and we had no direction. We had no sense of real purpose. We didn't even know ourselves, to be honest with you. So really, we were really upset with ourselves deep down inside. We were very insecure, didn't know who we were. And 2 people who don't know who they are, 2 people who don't have direction and purpose, it causes chaos. And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And can I stop you right there for 1 minute? Did you have examples of successful couples in your life?
I had one. I had one couple, and that was my mom and dad, to be honest with you. My parents were married for 30 38 years,
Wow.
together for 40 years. Yes. They would still be together. My dad did not pass away. But at the end of the day, they were, my parents, looking back, they were just two people who fell in love.
Mm.
My dad was from VA, my mom's from Jersey, and my mom came to VA. I know VA all day in Jersey. And my mom came to VA, met my dad, and they connected. And my dad said, I can't lose her. But my mom said, I can't stay in Virginia. So, he took off one night, went to New Jersey, and they got married a year later and had 3 beautiful children.
Wow.
And just dealt with life, and they went through a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges, but they didn't let people in their marriage. They always stuck it out together. And it's not that they didn't go through hard times. They had a lot of hard times, but I watched them just depend on each other. And a lot of couples don't know how to do that these days. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that a lot of people are going their separate ways, which still trying to make it together.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jada and Will have been an example in the news of that, right? Like not really how to stay together, trying to stick it out, but not really. So we've had those examples, right? And I want to give Chad an opportunity to speak, but I want you guys to think about this and put a pin in it for a minute. I want to know if you took some of those examples from your parents' relationship when you guys decided to turn things around. But I know, Chad, you had something to say as well.
Oh no, I mean, she kind of hit the nail on the head. When we were so young, even though we had her mother and her father as an example, when you're young, you think you know everything, and you listen to your friends and you listen to whatever's popular at the time. We didn't have social media back then like we do now today, but we still had outside influences, and most of those people never stayed together or weren't even married to begin with. And so you take all of this and you run with it. Well, so and so said to do it like this, and I'm gonna try it. And so we went through all of these phases, right? And I think that sometimes you have to find out for yourself what is right for you and what's not, and so it's a hard process, and that's why it was so tough. And then I was also in the military, so you have to understand, you put all of these issues that we were having, right? And then me always gone. And when I come back, and then we had money issues, because when I first joined, I was a private, and beyond popular belief, the military does not pay well in the beginning. So, and we had 2 babies in diapers. And so it was a lot. And we were young, wet behind the ears. And then in the military, you have a lot of divorce, and you have a lot of even if they're together, it's not beautiful at all. Right. And so you think that's the norm. You think that's what it's supposed to look like. And, it took us a long time of those trials and errors and mistakes to really find what we needed to do as a couple to get out of the mess that we were in. So,
yeah, wow. And it's a lot of pressure on young people, right? It just sounds like a lot to have kids, to have the military separating you, and then not knowing, okay, how do we actually go about doing this, right? And you said 10 years, which, I've heard other married people say that too, like between 7 and 10 years, like they're like, it was hard, So talk to us about like kind of what took place, a little bit more of what took place in that 10 years where you were just like, we're going to get a divorce every day.
Well, okay. So, we have a lot. So unlike our situation is a little different than probably the average person. So while I was in the military, my daughter had a stroke. She was 5 when she had her stroke. And so we had all of our issues, okay, that weren't resolved when we first got married. And then our daughter has a stroke, and it throws our whole life in a tailwind, right? We don't know which way is up. And Lanell was pregnant with our 3rd child, and she gives birth while my daughter is in ICU. And so now we have this brand new life, and our daughter who's fighting for her life, and we're in a foreign country. They don't speak English, and we're just lost. And the military did what they could, but we were in a the hospital that she was medevac to was about 2 hours from base. So there was just a lot of issues. And then we were sent to Washington D.C. to Walter Reed, but because we had a newborn, they made the newborn and my wife stay in Germany, and they took my oldest son, my daughter, and me, and sent us to DC on a medevac flight. And so now we're separated. I'm
Right.
living out of a bag. I have a daughter who is fighting for her life, and now I have this older son who, what am I supposed to do? I have no place to live. I have no cell phone. What are we doing here, right? And then she's on a base with a newborn by herself,
Yeah.
and it happened to be Christmas Exodus, so everybody was going on vacation. So she didn't even have really my command that active at that time to really help her as much as she probably needed. So we just had to figure it out, and that honestly, that struggle brought us together. That was the biggest healing. You asked us when we talked first, what was that thing that changed? And honestly, I do think it was a progression, but that one big moment really forced us to work together and put our differences aside. And then you start seeing the other side of the person, that side that you really like, and you start working together, you start growing together, and you start building something that matters. And that's kind of how it. And then our two youngest end up having autism right after that. So now we have two autistic kids on top of a child who's learning how to walk and talk and function. So it was a lot. And that's what we had to do. We had to do what we had to do, and it brought us together.
Yeah, and you see the comment there says separation force cooperation, right? And God bless you too for coming together, like realizing that, you know what, even though we're separate in terms of where we are, we need to come together because, for no other reason, right? Even though, you want to love each other, right? But you got kids that
That was
need you, and in these, just pivotal, monumental moments where they need you the most, like how do you not bring it together, right? So that you can do what's best for them.
You know what's funny? We always laugh because the universe is hilarious. When I say that, I mean God is so funny. Every time that we would have these fights, these arguments, something would happen with one of our kids. And then our focus would be shifted on our children, that we would forget about what we were fighting with. And they were our two oldest. When they were younger, I would make banana pudding, and I'd be like, you know what, we're gonna fight. We're gonna use this banana pudding to get all of our anger out. So the kids think it's fun. It's a whole mess everywhere, outside, inside. But for us, this was our way of getting it out because we were so angry with each other.
Yeah.
But hindsight 2020, just really, we were angry with ourselves,
Yeah.
for just, like I said, just not knowing. If people would start to learn who they are, man, it changes so much about the way that you look at life.
Yeah.
The way that we looked at life for the first 10 years was all negative. Everything was negative. We didn't look at anything like it was a lesson. We didn't look at anything like there was some good that was going to come out of it. Everything was just so negative, and just it was just at a bad place. And so that's how we kind of lived our life, in that negative state of mind. And when you do that, that's what unfolds. Your reality becomes that.
Yeah.
And so once we decided to change our mindset, change the way that we looked at life, and like I said, with our daughter having the stroke, it was like an awakening, a moment that God gave back to us and said, no, wake up. Wake up. Look at life. Like she's still here, right? She was supposed to pass. They said she's supposed to be a vegetable. She wouldn't walk. She wouldn't talk. She wouldn't do anything. You guys would have to care for her 24/7. We're like, I hear you, but I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. And I was 38 weeks pregnant. And I remember I was telling Chad one time, I was just in the shower and I was crying because I'm just like, how could this happen? I'm so confused. And I just remember it was a voice that said, she was mine before she was ever yours. Why you? And I
Yes.
said, oh, and that just calmed me down because I was like, you were so right. I It's like I owned her, and I didn't. I don't own her. I
Yeah.
was just a vessel here to bring her to life, to bring her here on earth, but that's it. She's not mine. And
Yeah.
so the purpose for her is now walking out, having a stroke at such an early age and managing that and showing life. And she does. She's 18 now, vibrant, beautiful, teaches dogs. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
And how beautiful for you to have that epiphany, to be able to share that with her so that you could tell her
Yes.
her life is about something more than just what happened, right?
Yes.
Because had you not had that epiphany, like you wouldn't have been able to teach it to her and allow her to take this journey now in a different way, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I just want to say credit to you guys because with the banana pudding, right, to make it look fun for your kids so that they're not seeing so much chaos, right? Like you said, they thought it was fun, even though
Yes.
you were mad.
Mhm.
Right.
It's like something like healthy fun, right?
Right. That's
Yeah.
all it was. And then once we get it up, we get it out and done with, then we're like, oh, now we got to clean it up.
Yeah.
But our kids are laughing and they're like, look at that. And they didn't even see how, they didn't really see the fighting between us. They just saw that mom and dad are continually throwing this banana pudding everywhere. And ha ha ha. And then we're grabbing one of the kids and he's grabbing one of the kids. And I'm like, you gonna throw it on your child? And he's like, I sure am. But
I
then it's just
love
all
that.
fun and it's all love after that,
Yeah.
and then we could just clean it up together and, like I said, just get through it.
Yeah, yeah. What a great way to release, right?
Thank
Like
you.
that's so good. Yeah. I would have never, I would have never thought about something like that. So,
Trust me, it started off at one time, it was just me really making it so we could eat it, and
mhm.
then he had ticked me off, and I was like, "Shut up," and I just threw it, and then next thing you know, it's like he took the spatula and threw it at me, and the next thing you know, we both just going at it, and then the bowl being thrown, and the kids was just laughing, and
Yeah,
once we realized that they were laughing, and they didn't really see that we were angry with each other, it just became a thing. It became
yeah,
like, "This is what we're gonna do."
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never look at banana pudding the same
You
way.
won't, you won't.
I love it. I love it. So talk to us about, events that came after. I just have to say, wow, first of all, right? Because what a story. And what a journey that
Mhm.
you two had, right? Like, wow, to go through all of that and come through. Yes, so powerful. And to come through to where you are now. But before you get there, talk about some of the events that started, because I know when we spoke, right, you talked about how it wasn't just, oh, some moment and then it happened, right? It was, a buildup of, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I don't want to tell it. I do know some of it, right? But talk to us about what started to happen, some of the things that started to take place that started to help you turn things around.
I think like what I told you, it's grace. Grace enters the picture and it starts giving you little nudges. Hey, go say you're sorry, you know, take her on a date, do some, just little things. And you start listening to those little nudges. You start paying attention to the grace that entered because again, we could have stayed angry, stayed
Mhm.
doing what we were doing, even with the banana puddings fights, we could have stayed with that underlying issue
Yeah.
and never tried to get on the other side of those things. And we run into a lot of couples like that. They might find some outlets, but they never get on the other side of the issue.
Yeah.
And so we started to really focus on just enjoying each other. And life continued to throw issues as well,
Mhm.
which I think that, like she said, the universe is funny. And I
Mhm.
told you, before when we talked, what we think and perceive as bad isn't always bad. Our
Mhm.
concept of life is just that, it's a concept. So I get into a motorcycle wreck, actually two, and the second one was really bad. The
Mhm.
first one was bad, but I was able to survive fairly well and everything was good. But the second one, I ended up flatlining twice. I've
Mhm.
had over 6 surgeries, actually 8 altogether, but 6 directly because of the motorcycle accident. I had to learn how to. Well, I was in the hospital for 14 days. I was in ICU for 7, and you know, it was a lot of people perceive that as horrible,
Mhm.
right? But it was the absolute
Mhm.
greatest thing that
Yes.
could, just like our daughter's stroke was
Mhm.
truly something powerful.
Yeah.
And so we were already turning the corner and making some really positive changes in our relationship. We were getting closer and closer every single day. And then this happened. And at first it was like, oh my God, again, like what? We were doing good things. Like what's going on? Right. But what ended up happening is we began to see things that we never saw in ourselves.
Mhm.
We like qualities that you don't know exist, qualities about life in general. And you start seeing the bigger picture of just life. And our marriage from that point forward went and skyrocketed. Like it went like on a different level. And you know, I honestly think that all those little nudges, all that grace led us to this, just to another reminder of what's true about life.
Mhm.
And to take those little moments and turn them into something special. And that's what we began to do. And we began to live in the present. And that was one of the biggest things that really jolted our relationship. Is we stopped worrying about what happened yesterday. We stopped stressing about tomorrow, and we just really convened in the right now. And we made that beautiful. And what ends up happening is you string together a life that is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, that's so good. And I love, yeah, see, look at that. I love that. I love that. I love, okay, so first, before I even make my comment, I love the way Lanell was looking at you while you were speaking. And then for her to say, I love you, like, oh my God.
Because I've known him since I was 14. I am
Yeah,
40 years old.
yeah,
Okay. So I knew this, right? I knew this, okay, when
yeah,
he was a boy.
yeah,
And I saw this when he was a boy, and I
yeah,
knew that with time, and I
yeah,
knew with patience, and I knew with love, and I knew with kindness, and I knew, like you said, with grace and mercy, and I knew with him forgiving me, okay, because I was not always as nice as I should have been. I
yeah.
wasn't always as nice as I displayed to others.
Mhm.
I knew that this guy here would show. You see, I knew him
Yes,
when people would see us together, on camera, he's the more talkative one, he's the more vibrant one. You know me, I'm just here, I'm present, I'm with him, and I'm just watching him just be all that God has created him to be, and I love it, and I love seeing that, and I love other people seeing what I have seen, and I've grown up with my
yeah.
basically my whole life.
Mhm.
And, it mm. Woo, boy,
Listen, I was tearing just when you looked at it, when you were looking at him and saying I love you, and I'm like, this is so beautiful, because this is what it really is all
That's what
about.
I'm saying. I want people to understand when you get this type of connection with somebody,
Yes,
right? You
yes,
get to share life with somebody else, another human being, and
yes,
you just watching them be and who it is that they're supposed to be. You just get so
yeah,
excited because I'm
yeah,
excited for him, right? I'm just so elated for the
yeah,
man next to me. Yes, am I happy that I get to, lay with him? I get to share my life. I have 4 children. We have this grand life, but
yeah.
man, just to be on the back end, just being his cheerleader, his fan, I'm excited every moment
Yeah.
I
And
do.
you just made me think about especially in relationships, right? Because even when you said about your daughter, when God said she was mine before she was yours, I always think about this when I think about, because I'm in a relationship now. I'm not married, but I'm in a relationship. But I think about cherish God's people, you
Yes.
know, and your significant other has to be that, like,
Mhm.
cherish God's people. So just for you to say that, like, just the journey that you've had and the way that you're looking at him and seeing what God is doing in his life and yours together, right?
Right.
Well, in
Oh,
India, they name their children after a deity, like after one of their gods or whatever. And the
mhm,
reason they do that is so that way they always see the divine
mm,
in their children and in the people in their home. And so you hit something that we've really began to
Mhm.
focus on, and that is seeing the divine in each other and in every situation.
yeah,
Again, we get influenced by this outside world, and all of the, like I said, the concepts that they, your marriage should look like this, and you should have this type of income and this type of car, and you're all of this stuff, right? It's like a movie. I told this to Lauren one time too. It's like we look at our life like it's supposed to be a movie, and in the movies, the guy always gets the girl and everything always works out, and then it just stops.
yeah,
And we think in our minds that, like, that's it. But there's a lot more to
Mhm.
this story,
yeah,
right? And you're going to experience a lot more. But how we experience it, what we see when those experiences happen, okay, that is up to us. That's where we have the control, and we can see the beauty in all of this stuff, or we can sit back and try to find and nitpick everything that wasn't right. And that was us for a long time, right? You know, we're big components of gratitude, but gratitude is finding, you know, the extraordinary in the ordinary. It's you know, you are focused on the beauty of life and in your partner, not everything they didn't do right, because we are human. We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to always miss the mark, but if we would settle down and look at it differently, you might actually learn even from the things that you wouldn't have done like that. Now you don't see it as a mistake. You see it as something that's teaching you a different way to do things, a different, you know, avenue of approach on certain things. So, yeah.
I love how you said that too, because I was telling you earlier when we talked is that a lot of times in our mind, we're playing stories. That's all you're doing. You're just living out a story that your mind is telling you. It's not reality. And when we really changed that, I started looking at him and everything that we were doing as what it was. I stopped trying to allow my mind, my ego to tell me, no, this and that. And that's what it was doing before. And that's why I would stay angry. That's why I would stay bitter. That's why I would just come at him the way I did, because I was allowing my mind to control me. And when I decided to say, no, I control you, you do what I say. Right. And I started to know this is what I know him. I know him well enough to know that that's not really what he meant. That's not really how he was coming across. That's not. So then I'm sitting and I'm having a conversation with them like, this is what you really meant? Yes. Oh, well, see, look at that. He's like, why? I'm like, well, because my mind has said this and this. And he's like, oh, got you. And so then we're able to you know, we were able to really dissect our relationship a lot more. Not to look back in the past. We only look in the past just to learn a lesson from it, just so we can teach somebody else. That's the only reason we look in the past. But I'm not going to dwell in that. I'm not even dwelling on what happened yesterday. And that's exactly what we do to teach our children now. At the age is almost 22 next Thursday. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
22. And you know, all the way to our 11-year-old, we are doing the same thing that we are learning, the same information that we are teaching others, the same information we teach each other and help each other, we teach our children, because one day they will be in relationships. And I want them to get into healthy relationships from the jump. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I know that you know, perfection comes with time and patience and love and, you know, endurance. And if they can learn that now, they'll be so much further ahead than we are.
And it's perspective, right? Like it really is. You talked about like your mind. If you start to examine, you know, what you're thinking and what you're feeling, right? And then you learn how to kind of switch the you know what I'm trying to say? Switch or whatever you say.
Yes. You said the thing.
Flip the switch.
There you go.
That part. Yeah, flip the switch. There you go.
There we are.
Look, this is 50, you guys. Flip the switch. But when you can do that, like it took me. Okay, I'm gonna be real transparent because we're gonna after I say this, we're gonna take a commercial break.
Okay.
And then I want you guys to give me a little coaching, right? And the reason why I'm doing this, I'm gonna be real transparent, right? Because I'm 52 and I'm not married, and I didn't really get my own issues until I started to change my life, right? And I started to do the developing and started becoming more aware. But okay, so I was, you know, I took the stories that people gave me, right? When it came to going to school, getting a good job, you got to be this independent, you know, woman, and you got to have this high powered job. And so I did that. I went with everybody else's story, but it wasn't the story that I was supposed to live, right? And I took this journey and I kept telling God, I know there's more for me, right? But I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Then I got in so far in corporate America, and then I was like, I need a break. Got breast cancer, right? Wasn't the break that I expected, but like you guys said, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because, and I'm still doing corporate work, but my mind is different now, right? And I wouldn't be here on the show or many places if I didn't have that experience in particular.
Yes.
So it changed, and that's what started to flip things. But then it also made me look inside because I realized I was a runner from relationships. The first thing that went bad, I was like, I don't need this. I can go. You know what I mean? And now I'm in a relationship where we went through some hard times and we had to really sit down and start to examine everything and start to change the mindset and really think about, okay, do we want this to work? Do we want this to go far? Okay, we have to build, and we have to grow together, and we have to pray, and so all these things started changing. But I can tell you, I was a runner. So I want you guys to talk to the people out there when we come back from commercial break that are like me, who just not getting it right now, and understanding that you need that other person. You need companionship. You need that in your life. And God is expecting that of us, right? He put Adam and Eve together for a reason, right?
Yep.
So I want you to talk to the people like me, and the people maybe that you have as clients who are like that too, who are just stuck and putting up the walls. You know what I mean? Because if you don't get it, then you can't build a healthy relationship. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk to our bulletproof marriage coaches about how to get this thing right.
That's right.
Hey, everybody, and we are back. Listen, if you missed the first portion of this show, you want to make sure that you go back and watch. We are talking to Chad and Lanell Osinga, and they are the Bulletproof marriage coaches. There was so much richness in the first part of the show that I really want you to go back and take a look if you missed it. But join us now, listen to what they have to say. And before the break, we were talking about, I was being transparent, kind of giving some of my story. I want them to talk to the people out there that are stuck, who just either are in a relationship or marriage or not, and just don't know how to get it right, and they're just stuck in their own point of view.
So, I thought about what you said or the question. And, one thing that I want everybody to understand is that we are conditioned from a very young age to see the world a certain way. Okay. And it's not our fault. It's just, and we don't have control over it. You don't have control over who your mom and dad are, the people in your life. You don't even have control of the schools that you go to, right? And the people that go there. So you are surrounded by all of these ideas, all of these directions of what life is supposed to be. And then subconsciously, it's like a computer program, right? And I think they say statistically 90 to 95% of all of our decisions and actions are done subconsciously. So we're only conscious of 5% of our actions. That is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Okay. But that means that there's a lot of stuff that is happening that we're not really aware of.
Yeah.
And so the first step is to become aware. All right. Aware of why you're putting the walls up, aware of why these things are going awry. And it's not, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like when I say this, but you got to look at you. Yeah. We talk about an inside out approach.
That's right.
Because we did all the stuff. We read the books, the love languages, and all the cool stuff that was out there. And a lot of that stuff was great knowledge, but no change started until we changed within. It had to be within, and it had to be for the right reasons. If I changed for her, it wasn't true. It wasn't real, and it wasn't going to last long. But when I began to change for me, when I began to say, okay, hey, I need this in my life, then all of a sudden we talk about like an like a temperature switch, right? And you set it for 70. Okay. when someone opens the door, what happens? The temperature rises and then the AC kicks in and it brings it back down. When you change the inside of you, that's what happens. You begin to be able to control the temperature of life. So even when someone leaves the door open and that temperature shoots straight up, that new program kicks in, okay? And you start responding rather than reacting, and you can bring that thing back down to the comfortable, thing, and it changes your entire house. So the first thing is we have to become aware of those things, and then we have to be really honest. Okay, hey, I'm insecure here, I have fears here, I have, these are defense mechanisms, all of the things, okay? And I'm a firm believer in cause and effect. And so there's got to be, if you're seeing the effects of a bad relationship or getting the wrong man, we run into a lot of singles that get the wrong man. Okay. Well, then I'm going to tell you, who are you? Because you only attract what you are. Okay. And so and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but this is truth. You want someone patient, become patient. You have to be what you want before you'll ever.
Come on, I gotta snap my fingers on that, tap the table.
So we, everyone talks about making a list. That's like common. Yeah, make your list. And we tell people, you got to know what you want, but then you got to become it. If you are not those qualities, why would the universe send you? And then the last thing is, where are you looking for these people? At the club?
Yeah.
If
I'm snapping again.
if you want someone who is patient and kind and loving and handles conflict well, where would they be? Where would they hang out? And if you're not in that same environment, you're going to miss that type of person as well. So you might have the occasional universal bump in at the grocery store, which happens a lot when you align with what you want, but it also helps the cause and the effect that you want to, get in the right environment.
Yes, come on. There was so much that was said there. So I do want to recognize, right? look at proud wife. I love it. I do want to recognize Mr. Robert Brooker. We thank you for joining us here and coming and joining the conversation. So I'm saying hi to Reggie Satchel as well, who's been commenting. We appreciate you both for being here and just joining in.
Thank you.
But there was so much that you said there. But it's introspective. That was clear, right? You mentioned it's introspective, and you have to take a look at yourself. I also want to mention what you did say too is we have the power to choose. We have the power to choose how we want to conduct ourselves, how we want our lives to go. And we have to put forth exactly what you said, right? We have to put forth everything that we want. And I also want to talk about, because you talked about environments, there's so much richness in this that you talked about, but you talked about environments, right? And energy is everything. So talk about that. Talk about how, because you gave that example of the banana pudding earlier. And to me, that changed the energy in your house, right? Like you started to make it fun, even though you were angry. Talk about how you talk to couples about changing energy with each other.
Yeah, I mean, we are energy, right? I mean, that's science. Modern day science has proven that, and it's those little awareness moves and changes that we make that really does it. It's every time that you make a small decision, moving in the direction that you want, you are starting to change your energy. And we're big proponents, small steps. Okay. We're not asking you to jump 1,000 miles on day one, right? Small steps, but consistency is always the glue, right? So if you're consistently doing small step after small step for 6 months to a year, you are not the same person. Energetically, everything that's coming out of you is completely different. And so I would just say it's those small changes, being aware of who you are, you can't change someone else. We have this false notion that we can change the person. God, the amount of charity cases that we see is ridiculous, right? Well, I saw what they could be, and I know they weren't that when I got them, but
But they
I
really
knew.
were. They really were that when you got with
And,
them. Okay.
and
You just didn't, you were hoping that all of a
Right.
sudden you got married or you got in this relationship and they were all going to be completely different. And I don't know
Right.
why you thought that, but somebody in your mind told you something completely different. And that's
That's
the
it.
problem.
yeah.
Stop listening to your
Yeah,
mind.
but
Yes.
small
Yes.
changes, small changes,
Yes.
right? Move yourself in the direction that you want to go.
Mhm.
You know, they say that a rocket going into space doesn't go in a straight line. It actually goes, you know, over left and right, and it course corrects the entire way up. So just course correct yourself through life and make those small little adjustments, and
Mhm.
before you know it, you're a completely different person.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened with us. He
Yeah.
just started course correcting his life, and I just started watching and just said, "Oh, I admire that so much." And then I just started kind of mirroring kind of the same thing that he was doing. Like I was really starting to like lead him. I mean, allow him to lead me, and it just became beautiful. Then all of a sudden, we just watched our children without even saying anything start changing, and they started picking up behavior that we were doing and started really, then they would start talking to us and their conversation was even different and the way that they view life was different. And only thing we did was just change our actions and look. And when we look within ourselves, and I'd stopped trying to worry about him as much, I did it. And that's why I try to tell ladies now, like, please stop worrying about him so much. Like, if you would stop worrying about him, I promise you could get further in life. But you're so fixated on trying to fix him or trying to help him or trying to be there for him that, honey, you lost yourself. And
Yeah.
that's a big component
Come
to
on, snap on that one.
and so
Yeah.
and I understand what you were saying about yourself earlier when you said, you were told you need to get go to college and get a good job and you need this and you're independent, right? Independent Black woman. I'm with you. Roar. You're roar. Got it.
Yeah.
Taught the same thing. I really was. I was taught the same exact thing. And I used to say that to him all the time. Like, I could do this without you. You could go. I don't need you in my life. But them 10 years and plus, okay. I used to say that all the time.
Right.
And it was so hurtful. It was so hurtful to him. And I didn't realize that I was hurting his feelings by saying that because I was saying I don't need you anymore. Right. And to be honest with you, we've come to a place in our life we actually don't need each other. Okay. We just want each other.
And that's the best.
Ooh.
That's the best.
Yes.
We don't need each other. Okay. I am good all by myself. I'm good.
Yeah.
God has got me here. Grace God got him here. But we are so wanting each other, and to be in each other's presence is beautiful. And I think that's the difference. So many people nowadays, they feel like they need to have somebody. Like they'll just settle for anybody, and then you get settled, and all of a sudden you're miserable, not realizing that if you would just have worked on yourself first, baby, right?
Well, and I want to say something, because you mentioned energy, right? And so it's proven that there's a field of energy that emits from the body. I think it's like 3 feet or whatever around a human body, right? Now, when you change yourself through, I like meditation and introspection and mindfulness. Those are the ways that I got myself to where I'm at today, and I do them every single day, multiple times a day. But the thing is, you remember I talked about the temperature, right? Well, when you start emitting that certain kind of energy, you're setting a temperature. And when people come into that presence, the wrong people, the people that don't like 70 degrees, they're not sticking around.
Right. They're going to turn around and go this way.
Right. Right. And so, that's the beauty of this. You begin to everyone's on this law of attraction thing, but a lot of people forget the action. There's 3 sub laws, right? You have to be what you want. Then you have to make space. So now I have to remove all of these things that are clouding the good to come in. I got to get rid of all these negative habits and things. But then once you set all of this in place, then you can begin to attract the right things that fit in your life.
Yeah.
So just set the temperature by changing yourself, by changing your energy, by doing what she was saying. Like, 100%.
Yeah. And I remember when I was changing my life, I was actually told by my best friend to join this program. And I had just finished like doing surgery and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me just go for this because God is changing my life. Let me figure out how I need to change too. And I went to this program and we did this thing where we put all of these things down, the things that had us stuck, the things that were stopping us, the traumas, the everything. And we released it into the ocean. And if you choose to receive something like that, right? Because you have to choose to receive it and really understand what it really means. But when I tell you the weight was lifted off of me because I was in that place where I was ready for it, right?
Yes.
And man, oh man, how powerful that was. It's like I felt just something rising out of me and releasing out of the top of my head when we did that. So you have to be in a place where you're like, okay, I'm ready to receive something different. And I'm ready to release all the things that have me stuck. But I think about, and nothing against anybody in particular, but I think about, being raised, my family's amazing. I love them. But, just being stuck in those old ways of thinking, right? And those things that always come up when you hear people speaking. How do you, and with a couple, how do you help them break through all of those old ways of thinking? Because those things creep up on people.
We actually just talked about this. We man, that's crazy you brought it up because we created our own culture. All right, everyone talks about the culture and you have it, but you hit on something that is really important that a lot of people miss, and that's you have to be willing to receive. You have to be willing to change. You have to want to see better in your life.
Yeah.
And the problem that we run into is that a lot of people don't. And you might have one that does, but one that doesn't.
Yeah.
And that is always going to be a barrier that's almost impossible to get around. Okay. Yeah. But if you are willing, if you're like, okay, this is how I was raised, but I'm willing to experiment. Because that's really all you got to do is start. The thing about concepts is that they're not truth. Okay. They're just a concept. This is how one person negotiated that situation. And they created a concept around it and passed it on to generation after generation. Well, once you start investigating, tearing apart and finding how it works, then you find the truth. And then you can create your own way around that situation. And that's what we did with like communication and all of these things, because we weren't taught communication, right? Even the good relationships that we had. I love her parents, but there wasn't the communication like we have today.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. We had to do our own thing. We had to really tear apart that concept of what we were taught and what we saw and say, hold on, what works for us? Yeah. And then you start creating something that's ours, not hers, not mine. It's ours.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
that answered the question.
Like almost at the end of the show, and I'm like, no. Because there's so much that we could uncover. You know what I wish I could do? And I'm going to say this publicly, because if there is somebody out there who is willing to like have Bulletproof marriage coaches go through like a live session with them, right? And really be true and transparent. I would love to get somebody who would want to do that. You know what I mean? Because I know so many people out there are suffering in their relationships.
Yes.
So whether you're married or not, but if you have a significant other and you're trying to make it work and you get into these roadblocks and you just don't know what to do, you need help, right? And you have a couple right here who has done it. So listen, I want to say to everybody out there, if you are in a relationship and you know you're stuck and you know you need help, their information is on the show page. All you have to do is reach out. They have done this, and you need to get coaches who have gone through experiences that you are looking to get through, right? And I'm not saying the exact same thing. I'm saying they learned how to make their marriage work. They learned how to better themselves in order to be better for each other. These are the type of coaches that you want in your life, because it's really hard to get somewhere and listen to somebody who hasn't had some experience to get to where you need to go. But they've already got that. You heard their story. And if like I said before, if you did not hear this in the beginning, you want to make sure you go back, because the things that they've been through, and to be able to come on the other side and have Lanell look at Chad the way that she does, and to have them be in this beautiful marriage where they are constantly working on themselves and constantly working to be better for each other. And I know I'm going to say this last part, because we did talk about this. You guys said this when we spoke. You said, you're doing this every day. So this is not something that stops. This is something that you continue, right?
Yeah.
Because
every day.
Every day.
Throw things at you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, the challenges don't stop. We just keep, this is another level, right? That's all it is. Everybody think, oh, I'm awoke. I'm awake. Honey, just wait. It's
There's
about
more.
to come.
There's more.
Okay. And
That's
you're
right.
supposed to. That's how you get better. You get better with time, right? It's like fine wine. That's all
Yeah.
it is. And then we just kind of grew up together with like fine wine.
Yeah.
And we just get better and better. That's it.
Yes, I love it. So I'm going to say thank you again to Robert Brooker and Reggie Satchel out there. We appreciate you guys. And listen, they will be back in November, everybody.
Oh, yes.
So you want to make sure that you catch them because they're doing something else that's really special out here today. When I tell you these two beautiful people are just aware when it comes to life, they really are. So I already love you guys. I'm just going to say that. You're amazing. You're both amazing. And I can't wait for you to come back. Stay backstage really quickly. I won't keep you too long. But everybody out there, this has been another amazing episode of The Whole Living Show. Make sure that you reach out to the Bulletproof Marriage Coaches. Their information, as I said, is on the show page. And we will see you next week. We have the ladies from Radical Press that will be here again next week. Take care, everybody.